Okay, so today's objective is that students will be able to identify how soil is formed. And before we go any further, we have to ask the question, what is soil? And the answer is soil is a loose mixture of rock fragments, organic matter, water, and air that can support growth of vegetation. In fact, soil is a product of thousands of years of chemical and mechanical weathering that can support biological activity. Soil formation starts with the very first step, which we've already talked about, which is weathering of a parent rock into smaller pieces. Of course, the weathering process happens through several different ways. We've already covered that, but it has to get small enough so that the plants can actually take up the nutrients through the roots. These very small particles from the parent rock are mixed within organic matter. And depending on what types of minerals and nutrients are found in the soil, well, that is what determines what kind of plants can grow in that soil. Okay, so minerals and the rock part of it, no problem. What about, where does the organic matter come from? This comes from microorganisms such as bacteria, fungi, parts and pieces of plants and animals and their remains that have decayed into the ground. Well, biological activity like moles and earthworms and other animals loosen up the soil and permit water and also air to flow freely through the soil, which makes for a better situation for plants to grow in. So there's 4 factors for formation. 1, the parent rock. 2, the climate. 3, the topography. And finally 4, the plants and animals within that environment. The rate of weathering depends on the structure of the rocks and minerals that make up the rock. In other words, how fast the soil forms depends on what the soil is being made from. And then we have soil formation and the variable of climate. Soil usually develops more quickly in warm, wet areas than it does in cold, dry areas. This is due to how things break down. Think about how an organism breaks down after it dies. If it's in a cold area, it's going to take longer. If it's in a warm and wet environment, it's going to combine with the minerals to make the soil even quicker. And topography is the exact same way. Think about it. A flatter area is going to develop soil much more quickly than, say, an area that's on a hillside where the sediments are going to be affected by gravity and by wind and by water, and they're washed away, they're eroded away, and the soil doesn't have a chance to take hold. Likewise, places where there's not a lot of plant and animals tends to be a slow developing area as far as soil. Once again, think about the waste that the animals put into the earth. The organic material is a must that is actually put together with the minerals so that plants can grow. A vertical section of soil is part of the soil profile. There are actually, or typically, 4 major soil horizons in mature soil. They are O, A, B, and C. Soil fertility is the measure of how well a soil can support the growth of plants. We have soil color, which is impacted by the amount of moisture that's within the soil and also what the soil is made out of, what kind of minerals it's made out of. And that concludes soil.